You can upgrade your plain RAM to RGB RAM for $15 or less. Are you tired of your plain old RAM? Maybe it doesn't have any fancy LEDs or fancy RGBs. Maybe it doesn't even have a heat spreader. Maybe you don't even have RAM. Wait. Well, today's video is going to show you how to take your RAM from boring to soaring. So, let's get into it. Hey, what's up guys, my name is JD from JDTechGear and welcome back to the channel where we discuss PC, passion, tech reviews, and setup design. So if you're into that sort of thing, consider checking out the rest of the channel and subscribing to become part of the Tech Junkie family. RAM is mostly the same, but the heatsinks come in many different shapes and sizes. Typically, RGB RAM comes with a hefty price premium. Cheaper RAM often comes with tacky heatsink designs and sometimes no heatsink at all. So what if you're on a budget but you want a bit more bang for your buck in the aesthetics department? Well, this can help. Here we have two different kinds of RGB heatsinks, one from UpHere and the other one from Jonsbo. They're a bit different in design but have the same RGB LEDs from what I could tell. The UpHere heatsinks have better availability than the Jonsbo option and have the option to purchase two heatsinks for $15 or one heatsink for $10. These aftermarket heatsinks can accommodate pretty much any standard desktop or server memory, so if you want to revive an old PC using DDR2 memory, you have that option. The only minor drawback to these heat spreaders is that there are attached wires, but you do have the option to remove the LED strip and wires altogether if you just like the look of the heat spreader itself. A lot of aftermarket RAM heatsinks often look tacky and out of place. These are at least mostly neutral. The UpHere heatsinks come in either black, gray, or red. So how do we install these? I'm using DDR3 HyperX Fury RAM for today's example. In each box there's included thermal pads, foam pads, spacers, and the heatsinks of course. The spacers are only used if the RAM stick doesn't accommodate properly. For most people, you won't need it. Now remember, if you remove the heatsink on your RAM stick, it will void the warranty. To remove the current heatsink on your RAM stick, I recommend using either a heat gun or a blow dryer to heat it up. This will help soften the thermal pad adhesive on the RAM stick, but be careful though because it does get hot. Don't worry about the RAM getting hot either because it just does that on the daily use. Try using your hands only and avoid using any flathead screwdrivers or anything else that can damage the modules on the RAM stick PCB. Don't be afraid to put some force behind it and work your way to removing it. It can get pretty tough. You might even bend the PCB a little bit, but don't worry, you can bend it back into shape and it will work just fine. If you don't have a stock heatsink on your RAM stick already, then you obviously don't need to do any of this, so it'll be really easy for you. Once your RAM stick is bare and naked, it's time to apply the new fancy RGB heat spreader. To do so, apply the thermal pads to each side of the RAM stick and apply it to the heatsink. Be mindful which side is the back side of the RAM stick when you remove the original heatsink. There should be a sticker on the PCB to recognize the back side, so just be mindful of that. The back side of the RAM goes on first, then the other side of the heatsink with the logo design on it goes onto that. If you have a RAM stick that only has modules on one side and the other side is blank, you can use the foam pad for the side that is blank instead of the thermal pad, but you can apply the thermal pad if you want to. Either one will work just fine for the blank side. Once your RAM stick is set in place, put on the faceplate and screw into place. Your new RGB RAM stick is ready to go. The Jonsbo installation is exactly the same except the heatsink is taken apart with an Allen wrench, which is included with the packaging, so not much of a difference there. Now you're probably wondering about the attached wires. These have a male and female connector, so you can daisy chain them all together without taking up a bunch of fan headers. The wires can connect with any fan header and only require a 2-pin connection. This does require some extra cable management, but if you want to make it easy on yourself, you can attach a fan hub in the back of the case and plug into that to keep the wires in the back. The one I have is from Silverstone and it's about 15 bucks on Amazon, and there are cheaper fan hubs too, but this is a pretty simple option. For my build, I have all the cables routed to the back of the case and daisy chained together to only take up one of the fan headers on the fan hub, so you still have the rest of the fan headers. This option is cleaner, but it's not necessary if you don't need it. Once it's all installed, just turn on your PC and the RGB LEDs are live. There's no fancy software or anything like that, they just run through a standard color cycle. They're pretty smooth for $15 to be honest, but nothing as vibrant, rich, and smooth as stock RGB RAM. Honestly though, for $15 I can't complain. These look good too with the brushed aluminum and low profile LED diffusers. If you're wondering if I killed any of the RAM sticks, here's my BIOS recognizing the full amount of installed memory which is 32 gigs. If you end up going with a budget build this year or looking to do some cheap aesthetic upgrades to your PC for $15 or less, this can be very valuable. It does require some DIY, but it's pretty easy for even a beginner. My only troubles came along with removing the stock heatsink. It was just a bit tough. If you guys are interested in these RGB heatsinks and even the fan hub that I showed in the video, the links to them will be listed in the description below. So I hope this video was helpful, straightforward, and informative for you guys to understand and do it yourself. And if you want to see more videos like this one, let me know in the comments below. Also, if you guys are interested in styling your setup with some PC art like this piece over here, you can check out my store in the description below. It also has merchandise like this if you're interested in that sort of thing. And it also helps support the channel, so I'll be here a little bit longer. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and if you want to see more videos like this one, consider checking out the rest of the channel and subscribing. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.